welcome you and all to another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Make sure you subscribe to the channel today. Join the Global Latin Factor community by subscribing right now. Today, you want to stay and check out this episode. Why? Because we have Eddie Michel, founder and CEO of Mister Picoso. You want to check them out. They have amazing products. He tells us about the journey of his business, how he got started, about Chamoy itself, some of the history, and a whole lot more. Insights about if you're an entrepreneur coming up. It has a lot of amazing little jewels that you want to stay tuned so you can listen about it. So, again, make sure to subscribe and enjoy this episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely.
You were actually at an event before you got here.
I did, yes. So, my apologies for running late, but...
Not at all. We can never underestimate the traffic. Even though if we know we're going to make it, there's always that.
Gotta love the Metroplex.
Again,
that was Fort Worth.
Thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, of course, we're going to do Preguntas al Chile. If you do not know what Preguntas al Chile is, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel right now. Join our community. Listo.
Absolutely.
¿Tacos o tortas?
Ay, tacos, claro.
¿De cuáles específicamente?
Yo sé carnitas.
Carnitas. Corn tortilla or flour tortillas?
Flour.
Gorditas or pupusas?
Pupusas.
Mexican coca o jarritos?
Ay, Mexican coca, claro.
Claro
Para
que
repetir.
Sabe diferente. And that's important to do,
Yes,
por favor.
muy diferente. Real sugar cane.
Claro que sí. Agua de horchata, jamaica o tamarindo?
Agua de horchata.
Horchata. I like agua de horchata.
Yes.
Agua de jamaica is awesome.
That's seconds, but it's too healthy for me.
Salsa verde or salsa roja?
Salsa verde.
The chamoy that you do, which one is your favorite?
La salsa, I love the pineapple.
The pineapple?
I'm more of a fruity, but pineapple's a little bit more like soury. Pero el de piña.
The piña es favorita.
But my top sellers are the original and sandia, and people just love it.
By the way, I don't know if y'all can tell,
Yes.
He brought some goodies. He brought some delicious... My mouth is wide. I was telling him as we were talking, getting ready set up. My mouth is wide just looking at him because we know what you expect whenever you have one of these treats. Like picoso, salty, and everything sweet at the end.
Everything.
Man, it has everything.
It just complements everything.
Salsa verde or salsa roja.
Salsa
Continuamos.
verde.
Salsa verde.
Sí, claro.
Enchiladas or chile rellenos.
Chile rellenos.
Menudo or pozole.
Pozole. Verde.
Pozole verde.
Verde.
Yeah, specifically.
Yes.
Valentina tapatio or Cholula hot sauce.
Valentina.
Churros or flan.
Churros.
Cumbia, salsa, merengue or bachata dancing.
Cumbia. A todo lo que da.
Todo lo que da.
Sí.
This is way different than all the other ones. A conspiracy theory that once you heard, you're like, man, that sounds like it could be true. Anything that comes to mind?
I mean, just like everything, I don't know. Sometimes I think, what if the world is not round?
Well,
No sé. I mean,
yeah.
what if it's, flat?
Have
It's
you ever...
one that's always been in the back of my mind,
Okay,
It's like como que,
Claro.
I no sé. What if we're not really round?
Have you ever gone through the rabbit hole of those type of videos and made you want to question?
I don't know if you've ever seen like the Black Mirror
I have
episodes
not.
from Netflix. Those really make you think about just things like that.
Yeah. I always think about the one that they talk about that this is all a matrix. This is all like it's not a real in the real. We're like, we're a program. That this is a program from an advanced civilization, because we couldn't even tell nowadays, especially with all the video games that are so real. They'd be like, what if this is not? And then when everything's gone, it's like somebody disconnected the power and now we're...
Exactly. You definitely need to watch it. There's one episode specifically where, the world is specifically ran by social media.
Yeah.
And by likes and follows.
Yeah.
So that one really makes you think.
Well, that's the world that China lives in. You have to have, like, supposedly, there's myth, and then there's people that say it's true that you have a social score.
Yes.
So
So you're worth by your likes and follows.
That's crazy, right?
And not currency and not, yeah.
Man.
So when you have a chance, take a look at it. It's a little old, but it's definitely a must.
Definitely check it out. When you hear the word Latino, Latina, or Latinx, what is the first thing that comes to mind to you?
Me, just flavor, sabor. I don't know. Just, I mean, our culture, or Latinos, it's a big word,
Right.
and it just can mean so many things.
Yes, absolutely.
And boring is not one of them.
Not even poquito, not even
Nada,
a little bit.
nada.
When you hear, do you care? Do you identify as Latino? Do you care if anybody calls you Latino? Do you prefer being Mexicano, Mexican, American, Chicano?
And that is a good question. When I was in junior, actually we had to write an article, and I consider more like Mexican American, Latino. I'm not a big fan of the word Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
That para mí, that's a government-made word. So cuando la gente me pregunta, yo soy Mexicano, Americano,
Mexicano,
or
Americano.
Latino. Just, I don't know, como que la palabra hispano, I know we use it for everything, pero no sé.
Yeah.
It just doesn't rub the
Doesn't
same way.
resonate with you. You don't feel connection with it. It's just something like...
I mean, just growing up, it's just, I don't know. Maybe because, I'm like an older generation or something. Pero, I don't know. Nunca me gustó la palabra hispano. We overly use it for everything. And
Yeah.
Pero me gusta más así Latino or Mexican American.
I like that.
Yeah.
What wouldn't be if you were born in the U.S. or you're even a neutralized citizen to be a Mexican American?
Exactly.
If that's your roots, right?
Yes. Especially me being a first generation. So
Awesome.
maybe that's why.
Awesome. Speaking of that, going in that direction, is there any interesting... So you were born here, first generation, as you mentioned. Is there any interesting stories that your parents shared as far as their journey to the U.S.?
I mean, just like any family, my parents arrived, in the 70s. Yeah, my parents have been here a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, it was easier, to come across back then, and not so difficult how it is now. But, I mean, they all come for the same reason, to follow the American dream and, and see what they can achieve in this country.
Yeah.
Under the free.
You can't really blame the people that are trying to pursue the American dream if the U.S. has done a beautiful job at selling us that.
Yes.
So when you put it nicely in a beautiful bowl and beautiful story, then why wouldn't we want to make our way over here to live our dreams out, right?
Exactly.
Seek opportunities if we don't have opportunities where we're from, right?
Exactly.
So it's your fault, U.S. Do you know if your parents were not really like making headway where they were at, or maybe they were going through some troubles, or maybe they just like there were really literally no opportunities for them where they were at, and they just make their way over here because of that?
Not really that I know. I know when they first came, they go straight to Chicago. That's where my dad first landed. And
Awesome.
apparently that's where, where the work was.
¿Y de qué parte de México son tu familia, tu papá y tu mamá?
Mi papá de Durango.
Durango.
And then my mom from Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
But we connect a little bit more to Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Because my dad's family sort of like migrated to Ciudad Juarez.
Okay.
So that's where the majority of her family is.
So you, as I mentioned, you the owner, founder of Mr. Picoso.
Mr. Picoso.
Mr. Picoso.
Mr. Picoso,
Look,
yes.
This is his product
The
right
best
here.
chamoy.
Let me do the other one right here. This is another one of his
And my
products.
Rempes, yes.
And this is another one of his products.
My
And
tube sellers.
he has various products, rims, the sauces, the paletas, the marcadito. We'll talk a little bit more about all those. Okay, so Mr. Picoso, tell me about the name. When did you decide to want to do, as far as the name itself, when did it click for you to want to name your company that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always known that I've wanted to do something, and I just couldn't find my niche. When you feel and you have that feeling that you want to own something or build something, but you don't know yet. So, I mean, it took a while, since, I am a little bit up there in age. But
he's about to be his
right,
quinceañeras coming up.
His
quinceañeras coming up very soon.
And just this came out of nowhere. If I grew up, being first generation, we all grew up eating these type of candies since we were little.
Absolutely.
And I just I mean, if you didn't eat chamoy, if you didn't eat tamarindo, if you didn't eat, lo ácido, agridulce, then you really didn't try anything. Pero, en todo lo ponemos. Dulces, fruta, bebidas.
Everything.
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 So, I mean, this came out of a surprise. It actually started for a Friendsgiving. I host a Friendsgiving every year, and you know what? Let me make a batch. Estos dulces enchilados. You know? And I made a batch, and all my friends fell in love with it. And they're like, Eddie, this stuff is good. Like, you should do, like, something with it.
Yeah, claro.
So from November all the way to, like, January, March, I made my recipes. And what is it? 3 years later, this is where we're at.
Yeah. And was there any other runner-up names, or Mr. Picoso is just what you... Where did the inspiration for the name come from for you?
Pues picoso porque me gustan las cosas picosas. I love everything picoso. Me gusta sufrir un poco. Just a little bit. No mucho. A little bit. And then Mr., just being the oldest out of four, and being like sort of like, the leader figure or something. Dije, pues Mister Picoso.
Mr. Picoso.
Yes. And then the bear, I consider myself a little soft bear. Mi corazoncito. And then yellow. Yellow is my favorite color.
Yeah.
So I've always loved. So I just incorporated all those things. And one day when I was at my full-time job, I was just sketching my life away, and boop.
Salió.
With the help of my brother, we sketched it on the computer, y salió Mr. Picoso y el osito.
El osito. Does he have a name per se, or?
I mean, I guess Mr. Picoso.
He's Mr. Picoso.
I mean, it's so popular. I mean, everybody wants Mr. Picoso, the bear, and it's identified itself.
I was telling you that definitely needs one of those suits.
I know,
suit.
Yes.
We need to find out how to make one.
Like a mascot suit.
Yeah, mascots. Imagine that on your pop-ups.
I know. That
or
is
even
a dream.
one of those blow-up ones, the Halloween with the air. Kind of like that.
I love
just
that
ideas,
idea.
but
Yes.
I think it'll be pretty neat.
Definitivamente. 2026.
we got
or
time,
the summer.
We got time 2025. We're still early, even though the month's almost over for us. If you're watching this, January is almost over. But está chido. I mean, me encanta. I like it. I like the whole everything. I ran into you in one of the Chamber with the Commerce. Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, I think it was.
Chamber of Commerce events, one of the networking events, and I just saw your stuff. Alisa, they're previously being here before. Teatro Café told me about you, so I was like, oh, this is pretty neat. And immediately, me llamó la atención. Immediately, my eyes went to the osito. And then I seen you in action in her anniversary, and I seen the layout. You even had drinks and stuff that you had made. So it's not just the candies, right?
No. Little by little, my family think I'm crazy. I'm like, Eddie, you need to stop adding things to your menu. But it's because... when you have something that's yours, you just want to expand it. Yeah. And then you want everyone to taste your flavors.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I started with un dulce, 2 dulces, and now to God knows how many, like 12 different candies.
Wow.
Rimpes. I was like, I am never going to be rimpes. I don't want to be one of those. And now I have 6 different flavors of rimpes.
Okay. Let's backtrack a little bit to when the idea of being an entrepreneur. So I say you always had that itch, that something that you want something to be yours, ownership of something, right? Is that from young, or was that later on in life?
I've always had it. Like I said, my parents came to, fulfill the American dream, and actually, my mom and my brother are in the beauty industry, so. My mom has opened up, we've had salons, hair salons and spas. So I've assisted, my mom with that, and my dad, always had a dream of, also, doing his own business. We almost opened a tortilleria. I mean, that's something, everyone's going to eat tortillas.
Of course.
I mean, that didn't come to fruition, but yo siempre tenía, so I always helped with their dream, and finally I'm like, I need to create something. I want something of my own.
Yeah.
And
that's where the itch came from, and then it all just kind of fell into place from the party that you hosted to making the idea.
Cuando menos te lo esperas, that's when it presents itself.
Awesome. So tell me about the very first when you officially decided to just go ahead and make a batch and put it out for sale? How did that feel when you actually had the products packaged? And what did that look like? How many of those were there? Like?
I mean, I feel like it was yesterday. And I mean, it really wasn't that long ago, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken the brand so far. You know, it feels like everyone thinks that I've done this for years, and really, it's only been 3 years in March. And when I finally did it, I was like, wow, I didn't. You know, but I always had, you know, faith that this brand, you know, was going to go somewhere. And as of right now, it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's on the path that I want it to.
Yeah, and then of course you take it very serious because you know you made it an LLC, not just
No.
being on pop-ups and different things like that.
No,
But
immediately.
yeah,
I left my full-time job in May
You
to
did?
pursue this 100%.
oh wow,
So that's when I looked to my partner, now husband, and we were like, okay, where do you see this? Do we see this? Should we take this leap of faith? And we didn't. So
wow. Was that scary for you at the moment? Was it hard
it
to
was,
choose?
and it still is. You know, the way that the economy is right now, you know, it is scary. You know, we're all a little frightened. So it's been a little challenging right now to all the Latinos, at least how I feel, you know, being a Latino-owned business, and, you know, see where this will go. But I mean, I have faith, you know, that everything is going to fall into place.
Yeah. So whenever you made the decision to go ahead and take the leap to do it full time, I know that previously before your job kind of sort of like some of the things that you were doing kind of sort of helped you kind of build the business, how to structure the business, how to maybe go about, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pretty well rounded. I have a big background in retail and hospitality.
Uh-huh.
And then my last job was in banking. So kind of those three pieces, you know, really helped me form like the background and the main three pillars really to any business. You know, the marketing side, the hospitality, customer service, as
Yep.
well as the financial side of things. So those three things have really, you know, have sent me to take my business where it's at now. And I think that's why a lot of people think, you know, that I've been doing this for a long time. When I really sit down and look, I'm like, wow, it's only been 3 years in March. And I'm always helping out other, you know, entrepreneurs, you know, even when I was in my banking world, you know, just trying to help
Yeah.
Latinos. Because, I mean, to start a business, you know, it's hard, you know, and I don't want to say this, and people think, you know, they say I make it look easy, but it's really not, you know.
They don't see they only see the likes posts that you post whenever everything's done.
Sí, muy bonito, que el Instagram, el monito, el osito, los
Pero las
dulces.
horas que pusí, like overnights, sleepless
absolutely
nights to get
not.
everything, all the batches ready
Yeah.
to go out.
Absolutely. Like last night, you know, I was at the commercial kitchen until like 1 a.m.
Wow.
Woke up this morning, you know, had to do another event as, you know, como dicen mi gente, you know, I don't know if I can say it, es una chinga, you know? It
Yeah,
really is.
it really is.
You know,
Yeah.
especially when it's yours.
Yeah.
O sea, yo lo agarro and I go, you know, full force with it.
But that's the beautiful thing about being yours, right? That you don't need to have motivation because you love it so much that
Exactly.
sin sueño, like sleepless night, it doesn't matter. You went to sleep at 1, woke up early and ready to go again.
And you
this is
must have
yours.
that passion. And that's the number one ingredient that I tell people is passion.
Yeah.
Tienes que estar apasionante de lo que haces.
Yeah. So even
not,
though
it
it
won't
was
grow.
scary whenever you left, was there somewhat of a little bit of relief? Because, like, going to work to me, I feel like it's not a normal thing for us to do. Now it's like a normal thing to go and spend 8 hours, right?
Yes.
But it's like I don't have to go over there, but now I have this thing that I really like and I can put hours. So even those 8, 10, 12 hours don't seem as challenging, you know, hard because I'm putting my worth into something that I love.
That it's yours. Yeah, so that is one thing that I got to taste, and I would never go back to when you're, you know, you're your own boss. You know, this is what you founded. This is what you created.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't for nothing go back to a 9 to 5. You know, I don't know how people do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I give people advice y les digo, I'm like, you know, haz algo, do something. You know, there's just so many resources nowadays. We have social media, we
Yeah.
have this, and organizations, the chamber,
The
where
chamber.
we met. I didn't know that groups like that had just so many tools and resources for small businesses.
Speaking
And
about that, how was it your community reacted to whenever you decided to first start, and then how did they support you? How did they take you going into an entrepreneur journey?
I think it started well. I mean, at the time, I sort of felt, like, this is maybe very, I started around the time whenever, TikTok launched, right after,
Mm-hmm.
right after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I did feel that I was a little saturated,
Right.
porque es cuando los dulces enchilados grab its force and everybody was making dulces. I'm like, should I or should I not start
Seemed
this?
like it, ¿verdad?
Yes, but I mean, everybody responded well. I did concentrate and I tried to make my recipe a little bit different than everyone else's. So that sort of is what sets me apart from all the other chamoy vendors. Todos tenemos nuestros propios version of this. But the version that I made, I've connected with not only our Latino culture, but other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
I've connected with the Asian cultures. And once I made this candy, I started realizing that, we're not the only ones that, have used tamarindo or use chamoy in our foods or whatnot. Like Asians have their own
Right.
versions, Middle Eastern. So I have a very well-rounded clientele base.
Okay.
No nomás Latinos.
So
So I've got a response from all different communities.
awesome.
And I like to go and take out my product to all different communities. You probably follow me on social media. I'm all over Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Todos lados. No nomás, in my little circle. Because, I want everyone else to try, what chamoy candy or dulces enchilados is.
So it sounds like you did deep research as far as like, even though everybody seemed like it was doing it, you even further research older cultures to see that they are doing it. And there's a lot of them that do it.
Apparently, yeah. So apparently really nobody knows, where the origin of chamoy came, but apparently it was introduced to Mexico 200 years ago from the
Wow.
Philippines.
Wow.
Y de ahí lo agarramos y lo hicimos entre dulces and everything else.
There's a story.
There's a story. I mean, nobody's made it
Yeah.
official from, the research that I've done, but it was
Yeah.
introduced.
The Philippines contribute to a lot of our Mexican culture. Sometimes we don't pay
El mole,
attention.
¿verdad que sí? I've heard como el mole.
So hay una historia de their distillery, the way that they do distillery, they used to do a coconut-based type of drink. And that distillery method, they introduced it to the agave. And that's supposedly the story goes. Don't quote me. There's articles out there
Y donde vino el
that
tequila.
introduction, that's how tequila,
Wow.
that method came to be. So without them introducing that, we never would have had maybe tequila, or maybe years later, or maybe not at all. So mole, I wouldn't doubt it. There's something.
I think mole is one of them. Like I said, pero don't quote me.
But then again, even
Pero los
chamoy,
sabores,
you
sí.
know that you looked it up, and that's something that came from another place too. That
Yes.
it's just like a lot, como tacos al pastor. It just wasn't a
Where did that one
Lebanese-
come?
Lebanese.
Right, yes.
the trompo they already have.
Uh-huh.
They didn't use the gyro, they used a tortilla, and we just put our own chile and salsa, and we made our own creation.
There you go. Con
And
piña.
isn't that the beautiful thing though about cultures like yourself? Like you don't limit yourself to the name sounds Latino, the name sounds Hispanic or Mexicano, but you notice that even though you go into other places, they're still welcoming, right? It's still they're familiar with the look, they're familiar with this, they know that they've seen it before, even though it's a different name or a Mexican name. They recognize this to be like, oh, I know this. It looks familiar to
It
me,
looks
right?
familiar. Even though they confuse my name to Mr. Picoso, but
Picasso? Is that always something that happens?
yes,
Okay.
in todos lados, especially, in other events. I'm like, no,
That's
Mr.
pretty cool.
Picoso.
So let's go back because you had mentioned earlier being a Latino. So is there a
Yes.
lot of challenge for you being Latino out in as far as you're doing your business when you're in pop-ups and different things like that?
Challenges? I mean, yeah, a little. I mean, I feel like people are a little bit scared, but, I'm very outgoing. So, I try to be not too overpowering. So, and I try to slowly bring in people,
Yeah.
because, I like to offer samples. So, they come around, I already know the little, they try one little sample and then they go around the whole market and then they come back and they look at my product. And then they grab and look at the ingredients. Like they're still trying to figure out what this is.
Yeah.
And then boom, at the end, mira, lo compran.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird, how that happens. But
Right.
that's usually the little routine that I get, at these markets of, that it's not prominently just Latin products.
But I mean, excuse me, the sample thing really works because you, instead of looking at it and not knowing what you expect, you get to maybe try to see if it's for your palate or not.
Absolutely, yes.
So that kind of helps them. So even though they went all around,
All the way around. And, thinking being in Texas and not, because this product is a little bit more popular in California or a little bit more to the border town.
yeah,
And we're not that far away, pero no lo conocen.
Wow.
It slowly made itself up to North Texas.
Wow.
North Central Texas.
North Central Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Do you speaking of pop-ups, do you remember the first pop-up you ever had?
Oh my God, yes.
Did you ever think you were gonna do pop-ups eventually at one time or another, or no?
Yes, because sort of, with my
The nature
my
of the
retail
business, right?
Yeah, my retail background. That sort of was what I did.
Yeah.
I did networking and pop-ups for for my current job at that time. So that's sort of where I kind of like knew kind of like what to do early in the game. Because luego I came up with the product in November and already did like my first little pop-up in January.
Yeah.
And then when I finally saw how people were responding to my product, I'm like, well, I need to make this official. And that's, once you go on social media, it's official.
Walk me through the first time. How does somebody find you to be on the pop-up? Or how do you find them to be on the pop-up? And how do you prepare? What is your game plan? Because it seems like you're very strategic as far as the things that you're going to be doing. You're already thinking 2-3 steps ahead before you even go into that. Walk me through the first one.
For the first step, I think, the advice that I give other, small businesses that are starting, I'm like branding. Branding is so important, on your product, and just that's the first step I tell. Like you really got to build that brand, that logo, and to go with your product.
Right.
Create that eye catcher. Like for me is el osito, and my favorite color yellow. And that's sort of my plan is make sure you have that.
Yeah.
And also consistency and streamline.
Right.
So when I go to all the events, they already know, oh, mira, Mr. Picoso. Oh, Mr. Picoso's here. Because you got to keep, that consistency.
Did you make it an intention to go and say hi to all the vendors, all of them, para saludarlos solamente?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Introduce yourself, and also don't be afraid. I know it's hard, not to take that first step, but you just really got to make yourself known.
Okay.
When you're at these events.
The very first pop-up, one more time. Walk me through it from beginning to end, because again, I know that you're kind of methodical as far as the steps you're going to take. You kind of sort of see the beginning, but you already even see the ending before it plays out. Can you walk me through that first day?
Yeah, like my first event was Weird Wednesday. I don't know if you guys have heard that event. It's a very good friend of mine. Hi, Greg. And he gave me that opportunity, and I didn't know what to expect. And I just went for it. My little table, 4-foot table, mi dulcecitos, y así empecé. At the time it was only candy. It wasn't such an extent menu as it is now. It was literally like 6 pieces of candy.
6 pieces. Yeah.
6 different options.
What were the recipes like at the time, the early days?
They were still the same. That's one thing that I've kept the same. I have, outsourced, different types of chili peppers, as I'm learning more about the business.
Mm-hmm.
But el sabor, it's been the same since
It's been the
then.
same. That's
Like,
neat.
you got to keep, consistency is the key.
Yeah.
It's like como lo veo to success.
Absolutely. What were some of the biggest challenges that you've seen, even though immediately as soon as you did your first pop up and maybe going forward, that you thought, like, how am I going to overcome these things? Do you remember what they were?
Challenges, like what I mentioned earlier, like nobody knows really what this is.
Yeah. So you not only, in addition to having a presence, doing the marketing and everything, now you kind of become an educator as to what this is and where does it come from?
Yes. At the events, I have to introduce, like what ¿qué es chamoy? ¿Qué son dulces enchilados? Even when I go get a city permit, they put me in jams. So even the city itself, our locals don't even know what this product is.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's always been a challenge because people still no conocen lo que es. I'm like, what do you mean? Don't you get margaritas when you go to restaurants? That red stuff on the rim? That's chamoy. That's chili mix.
So you literally have to, at times, have that conversation with the people at the city to kind of sort of let them know.
Exactly what category to put me, because there's apparently no category for me. I just packaged goods.
Packaged goods? They put in the packaged goods?
Packaged goods, or como se dice, confectionery.
Mm-hmm.
See? But that's really it. But, they always want to put me like in jams. I'm like, I'm not a jam.
So you finally, after talking to him, having very patient to kind of break it down to it. It's great that you did the research beforehand to kind of sort of know how to articulate what it is and how it is, and up to them to package you to place you wherever they need to. But at least you get the permits that you need to be able to do business.
Yeah. So that was a challenging another piece, because I'm now a food manufacturer. So everything is made in a commercial kitchen.
Nice.
So, I'm trying to, put everything in order and eventually, see where it goes. But that took the longest to see, what category are you in.
Do you ever see, speaking of, as far as like the commercial kitchen, was that shortly after you have left whenever you went full time, or has it been recently?
That just happened in December.
Yeah.
Because the demand was getting big, and my house was literally, Mr. Picoso headquarters. It still is.
Some of the
Perdón,
operations,
family.
some of the operations are run.
Yes, like the marketing stuff like that, but everything's done, at the commercial kitchen.
Do you find more success on the pop-up still? Because you can never beat the connection with the people and have them tell, or is the website being fairly useful to you to be found, especially with having a larger menu there? Which one do you feel like is pretty even right now?
Right now it's more, once again, I'm still in that phase, where people don't know what the product is. So one of my goals for this year is to increase more of my online sales. So, once I catch them on the market side, then, they go and do online sales or the website or whatnot.
So let's say if I'm a customer, I'm walking through your station, I'm like peeking around, I'm like, what is this? And then what will be your pitch per se to introduce
my little
me to
pitch,
it?
is like, Chamoy Candy. And first, you gotta watch their body, como que, like, what it is, what or not it is. Chamoy? What's chamoy? They're like, what is this? I'm like, and then usually the reference that I've always give to is like the margarita. Like, do you ever go to a restaurant, get margaritas or anything? That red stuff?
Mm-hmm.
If they're clueless after that, then I'm like, oh, Lord.
And what's your next,
Lord,
what do you
I'm
resort
like,
to after that?
So I'm like, well, it's a spicy, tangy sauce, that we use in Mexico, that we put on fruit, drinks, candy, or just eat it by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're clueless after that, no, ya los perdí. Yeah.
Then you resort to the samples.
Exactly.
Here, just give it a go.
Just grab a sample, and go visit my friend Google, porque...
ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. Search, but usually doesn't get that far. It just depends on the market.
Yeah, I know you explore different flavors as far as other cultures and stuff. But how can you, what do you do to maintain your heritage, your Mexican heritage within the candy itself?
The candy itself, so my all the ingredients are 100% authentic de Mexico. So that is one thing that I've always strive, and it's what I use in sort of my slogan is, authentic flavors from Mexico.
Authentic flavors from Mexico.
De Mexico. Of course, the candy is American, but it's not really American. When I looked at where it's made in Mexico. But then it's, right over to the States, even though about here. So really everything is made in Mexico. Pero todo, I just try to keep all my ingredients in Mexico.
Why is it important to you? Because I noticed that not only the todos los ingredientes, all the ingredients, pero también tu mercado, your market, your mercado on your website, you have a lot of products in Mexico. Why is it important for you to be able to expose people to Mexico products specifically?
Because I just I want everyone to have a taste of our culture. So when I first opened the website, I'm like, you know what? Quiero un mercadito. So I started, slowly sourcing things from Mexico and putting them on my website for others to have access to them. Because I get a lot of clients from the East Coast. They buy, my items from Mexico. For us, it just seems, like, oh, pues, we can just get them here locally, but these people really don't have, like, the Mexican chips. Like, I ship so many chips to the East Coast, to New York, I just did a large order today that's going all the way to Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yeah.
They found
they found me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I just think, that's pretty cool, but you really don't think about it because, yo puedo ir aquí a la tiendita.
So we take it for granted here in Texas
that's the word
that we have all these stuff
all of these.
like right here. Pero en otros lados, el norte, the north side, the east side, they don't have that stuff. And they need somebody to. So is that how you feel that your Mexican heritage gets passed on to them to expose them to these things that they don't have, to know that it's Mexicano and they can have it wherever they're at?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. So everything, I have everything from jabón to papas to tajín mexicano.
Hasta de habanero.
Sí,
I've
el
never
habanero.
seen that one.
That you can find it here now in the States, but when I first added it, you couldn't find it anywhere in the States. Wow. The new tajín dulce, I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen that. Tajín dulce. And even
That
the
one's not
habanero.
even-
You like literally exposed me like, what is this? Because I seen the tajín, the regular one, the one without sodium.
Yeah.
Pero cuando vi this one, I was like, I never seen this one before anywhere. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
So I'm slowly, just adding things. And of course, your dulces mexicanos. Yep. So that's a new addition that I've been adding to the markets now because, people are wanting también dulces mexicanos. No nomás solamente los míos, pero los mazapanes, Todos quieren mazapanes.
Awesome. In your journey, how has there been any kind of somebody that helped you out, whether it be a mentor, a community that really supported you as far as your journey, that kind of sort of helped you figure some of the things out?
Well, I'm sort of like, my background and sort of like all the previous jobs that I've had in the past have really set, that foundation. My parents as well. They came over, with nothing really. And they were able to build, businesses here, and they've always been my number one supporter, And of course, my own immediate family as well. And my husband too, and without him, I don't think none of this would have been possible.
So even though they do call you, como we said, you're crazy for grabbing so many things, even though they still have a firm belief in you, right? Siempre te respaldan. Have you ever had any moments where you feel like, I think I'm just kind of done, and they kind of help you out, like, hey, échale ganas, we got this?
Yeah, not too far. Actually, I think this year has been, 24 was a pretty rough year. I was in a pretty bad car accident, and that's where, it was a little setback. But I'm a big believer in, things happen for a reason, So during that time where I wasn't able to really physically focus on my business, I was able to focus it mentally.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, develop a little bit more, do more research, and do as I wasn't physically capable to run the business. And that really was a time of a reflection for me during that time.
Yeah. Do you think at that time it was needy for you to be in that space so you can straighten your mind?
I think so. At the time, you were like, Dios Santo, like, why?
Mm-hmm.
But now, after, the months have passed, I'm like, well, that's why.
Yeah.
Those, 3 months or whatever off when I wasn't physically able to do it, I was able to, concentrate more on my branding or the recipes and whatnot, research on events. Because I've taken the brand, to huge events. I do now, large festivals.
Oh, wow.
That bring in, 50 to 65,000 people. And that's one thing I haven't been afraid of, is to take that big step.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's sort of what has set me, not ahead of the game, but sort of more like also as a leader out in the small business world. They're like, Eddie, how did it feel to make that step? I'm afraid to take on those big events. Like I did Bésame Mucho.
You did.
Year.
One in Waco.
No, in Austin.
Austin, I'm sorry.
So I did,
I'm sorry.
Bésame Mucho. That was a big event.
Huge event.
Big event.
3-day event, right? Or
That one is only one day.
Okay, 1 day.
I also did Foodie Lands. Like these are all big Latin festivals that are from California came to Texas.
So do you think that if it wasn't for the little setback that you had, you would have ever found how to even get into these events?
I think so.
Wow. Imagine that little setback, how they put you and catapulted you to be in the bigger events, and then, strengthening your mind. Knowing that
it's like a little restart, I think, or a little reset button or whatnot.
That's great.
At the time you're like, Dios Santo, ¿por qué? But then, later you find out, well, this was the reason.
Don't ask the why, ask why not.
And I try not to. There's no time for that.
Yeah.
For that energy. Don't waste it on that. Just keep on going.
That's great.
Just keep on going.
Well, I'm glad you're doing better.
Yes.
And then you're good to go. And then that opened up other doors, even bigger doors for you to be able to walk through and put yourself out there as far as those bigger festivals. Because at least Bésame Mucho, I know, is a huge deal. Everybody and their mama makes their way over there.
I know. So, I'm hoping to do, Bésame 2025.
Yes. Yeah, they already
so
got
stay tuned. So, hopefully they do approve me for that event. And, I'm looking at larger events, in other states as well and sort of take Mr. Picoso, more of on a national level.
Speaking of national, it's a great thought to be able to have you all over the states. However, what about worldwide? Did you ever find yourself shipping out things to other countries yet?
When people have asked me, I have the resources and the capacity to do it. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the things where I'm like a little frightened. I don't know why.
You think
to take the big step, worldwide.
What do you think that is maybe a little bit intimidating? Is because of just maybe because you're not having researched it too much to know maybe that's
I think
the reason
that's why. Because I'm one of those that really likes to do the research, mm-hmm. and if I'm gonna present something, it has to be 110%.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because that's this is a representation of me.
Okay.
I am Mr. Picoso.
True. So in the beginning, really, there was no really mentor. You kind of sort of figured it out for yourself.
I see it.
And then now, being out in the community and you kind of sort of build a community with different vendors, but you actually are somebody that people go to ask questions. That's pretty neat.
Yes. It's a little scary, and I feel grateful for that. But I'm like, it's just not me. I already have a nice little team that helps me, put together everything.
That's nice.
From staffing, with the events, the social media, to everything. It's just you got to slowly start letting go if you want to grow.
Okay. That's a very interesting question when it comes to an interesting topic when it comes to Latinos, mm-hmm. Mexicans especially, and especially people that maybe are first generation is the letting go part. because we always want to be very prideful that we can do everything instead of letting us delegate to other people that you already know that they're going to do a good job and assure that they're going to be a good job, and you just can manage the bigger stuff, right? How
And it's
challenging.
hard. It's so hard to let go, like you said, And I still like, no, yo puedo. Pero you got to.
But it's such a
Literally.
pride thing within us, right?
It is.
It's
Yes.
such a pride de que puedo hasta las 3 de la mañana hacer esto y al siguiente día,
Yes.
instead of like, you put the people in place, you can finish by 10, 11, get some rest, and you can focus on expanding the business. The research that you need to do to be able to go internationally, you have that time instead of having to be there doing it.
And doing it.
Yeah.
But yes.
How big was the battle for you to start letting it go? Have you slowly that's how you figure how to maybe just start
just
letting
little
go?
by little. It's just you have to. Of course, my background is also in management too, so I've always had, a team underneath me. So I kind of incorporated that with my own business and started creating, my own team. And I have a lot of my friends, that help me with events. I've through other events I've connected with other people, they help me with my, social media and also source other events and whatnot. I mean, you have to little by little let go if you really want to grow. Because I mean, I really don't see myself. I still see myself, like that Mr. Picoso that did that little event in January, almost 3 years ago. And when people come up to me like, "Ooh, mira el Mr. Picoso el famoso," because I've done these big events like Bésame Mucho and my followings. I really don't think I have that many followings, but people really look at that and look at me as a leader figure.
Do you think it's a little bit condescending when they say that, or are they really celebrating you for all the work that you've done? Or how do you take those?
No sé, unfortunately, nuestra gente, somos bien envidiosos. I don't like, saying that word or anything, but
Unas personas pueden ser bien envidiosas,
or just
and they
anybody.
show it.
And they show it.
And then there's a lot that do support.
Exactly. So whenever they tell you things like this, I'm like, so are you being for real with me or you not? Pero como todo,
How do you take it? Whenever they say like that, you laugh it off, or maybe it's a point of reflection for you to be like, yeah. A lo mejor no soy tan famoso like you want me to be, but man, I've been showing up every single place with lots of sleep, finding these events where I can get myself in there. You didn't put me in there to be able to be there. Exactly. I did it all. So if you want to see that, because soy famoso, I'm like, it's your perspective, but like I'm doing something right? Because I put myself in those positions, you know?
Yes. Y al principio, first, it just, of course, sí duele un poco. You don't know how to take it. Is this person being for real or not? Pero, I just try to brush it off.
Yeah.
Como dije, there's no time, for energy like that.
A mí sí se me hizo eso, mi famoso, hey, ¿qué? Todo el tiempo estoy en la YouTube. Sígueme.
Right.
Si no lo has hecho.
Right.
¿Y qué estás esperando tú para ponerte en cámara? What are you waiting for to get yourself on camera? In front? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, it's like, I'll take it. It's like, a mí no me dices nada like that. But now you have me thinking, if I was still be like, it is. I have been showing up. I've been putting myself out there. I've been doing this.
Exactly.
I've been consistently putting I would encourage you to find something that you can expose that for yourself.
Exactly.
Instead of 9 to 5 all the time, no hay más cosas. Again, honorable, pero ¿hasta cuándo? ¿Qué va a ser tuyo at the end of the day?
Exactly. And I try to turn that energy more to positive. Like, okay, well, that means that todo el esfuerzo, todo lo que he hecho, it is working.
Yeah.
If you really see me, out there, or see me everywhere, then sí está sirviendo lo que estoy haciendo.
Absolutely. Felicidades.
Well,
congratulations.
thank you. Yes,
that is algo de aplaudir, algo de celebrar for somebody. Again, you mentioned started a pop-up in January, not to the big festivals you're at. That's
just
a lot of work.
3,800 followers today.
3,800. Hey, congratulations.
3,800. Apparently, it's a big number out in the social media, pero para mí no es nada.
It's great.
Yo no lo veo así, pero
people love to see your stuff,
Yeah.
and then that's great because that brings more eyes to you. You can show more people, expose people to your candy, our culture. Mexican culture.
Yes.
So during those times, as far as capital, was your full-time job job funding those to be able to get out there, save enough money to buy the material that you needed, the candy, and then expand on that?
Yeah, just little by little. And I mean, I remember going to La Gran Plaza, to the dulcerias. That's like the first place that I thought of. Like, where am I going
Yeah.
to find dulces mexicanos? O sea, La Gran Plaza in Fort Worth. Where else do I go?
Yeah.
So I was actually having this conversation with my dad. And we're like, you remember those days when we go to the dulceria, coming, with my 6 little bags, the dulces. And now, I had to buy, a whole truck, and we're coming out with, 10 boxes of dulces.
Wow.
So, I mean, it is a big change
Yeah.
in that such small amount of time.
It's crazy that you said it the way you said it, like kind of like ties to the person of like, ahora ya bien famoso, is like you went to the store to buy baggies,
Yeah,
and now you're getting
bolsitas.
truckloads.
Now I have to get truckloads, and now I go directly to the distributor. Like it's a complete change. Cuando, I mean, it's la movida. If you see the demand and you see the growth, you really gotta switch, como dicen, switch the battery.
Yeah. Now that you're in the place that you're at, almost 3 years or going into 3 years, where are you starting to try to see how are you going to be maneuvering for the future?
Distribution, sort of, but I'm right now in that space where, like, okay, so ¿qué sigue para Mr. Picoso? Like, what? Of course, everyone's dream here in Texas is to be at HEB. In todos los shows of HEB, or in todos los Quick Trips, or las gasolineras, donde sea.
Or los Buckies.
Or the Buckies, sí, los Buckies, or the Specs. So that's, sort of, my next step, or like worldwide shipping, So en eso estoy ahorita todavía, trying to figure out, where to take Mr. Picoso.
That's good.
I try to do, just do something different. Algo que no están haciendo algo más, but still keep the authenticity, ¿cómo se dice?
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
A mí se me traba las lenguas también en
Sí,
español.
sí, I am ESL, English is my second language.
Yo también. The day that I left ESL, I felt so like accomplished that time,
Right?
Porque it was a struggle to learn English. And even a bilingual person, I know it's nothing to do with the candies, but like hablando como se nos van las palabras, is like just maneuvering the daily life English Spanish is like como que a veces
It's quite challenging. And I actually grew up in Denver, Colorado. So we were in a small town where we were the only Mexican family there. Wow. So, I've never, people like, Spanish, because you don't carry that accent. It's like, grew up in a very, strict, very prominently, white. Caucasian, that's the word I'm trying to.
Caucasian.
Neighborhood. And then when we moved to Texas, they put me in ESL. I'm like, ESL? I'm like, I know more English than the teacher.
That's hilarious.
Duré un mes.
Un mes.
But apparently that was the rules back then.
Yeah.
If you come
yeah,
from
it
another
was.
state, if you come into the state of Texas, you have to go through ESL.
If you have a name, a last name that doesn't sound like, American.
Oh, and then,
Ayvas.
growing up, imagine a Mexican with the last name Michelle or Michel.
Speaking
That
of,
wasn't a word.
where did that come from, your last name?
It's actually French.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So my ancestors, they're French Mexican. So far, what we've looked into is after the Revolutionary War.
I thought it was for whatever reason, you pensé que era tu middle name.
No, see, that's the thing that people, a lot of people get. I actually didn't even like my name, my last name, when I was little.
No?
I changed it to Mitchell.
Really?
Yeah. Growing up, I'm like, I know Michelle, I don't want to be a girl's name.
Pero, okay. So when
It's a girl's name.
it's a little bit of a conflict when you're growing up, especially with the kids being so mean and stuff like that. So that's the reason why. And when did you decide it? So it's Michelle.
And coaches, what do they call you by?
Your last name.
Your last name. So guess what people called me during school? Michelle.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that because I'm like, no, eso no es mi nombre. No, it's very feminine. Yo no quería.
Sí.
you know. And during that time, of course, I was trying to discover myself too.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it really to heart.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, I don't want to be called Michelle.
Es Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Entonces,
Lo cambié a Mitchell. I was Eddie Mitchell.
y luego, in the future,
Y
later
no
on.
Eduardo Michel.
¿Sí? So, Eduardo es su
Junior.
primer nombre.
Eduardo.
Okay. Y cuando, because we all go through that struggles of this kid's being mean and you don't want to be that. Pero cuando empiezas que like, Michelle is what it is Michelle is my last name.
I think when I came to Texas is when I really started connecting more to like my Latin roots. Because like I said, where we grew up, there wasn't too many Latinos. So when we moved to Texas, when I really started, there's more others like us.
A lot.
There's a lot. Yes. I started, there's other cultures,
Yeah.
other skin colors.
Was that interesting for you to see that?
It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you remember, how old were you at that time?
We moved here when I was 13.
Yeah.
So I went straight to 7th grade, so middle school.
So when you went in there and the first day of school, you started looking around like, whoa.
Yes, I'm like, oh my gosh, that person. They're way darker than I am. I see, that's how excluded we were, in the little area that we
I mean,
lived
yeah,
in.
compared to where you came from, where there was none of that, all of a sudden there's a lot more flavor. You'd be like, wait a minute.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. We're running short on time. Again, thank you so much for
No, absolutely.
for bringing this beautiful things. Let me go and
See,
so the
is
camera
my,
can capture it.
Party tray.
This is
But
your
the
party
best-
tray.
Yes.
Okay.
The best 5 flavors that you can find right now. My
Okay.
5 top sellers, actually.
Awesome. On your way over here, was there any questions that you had in mind? Like, I wish he asked me this, or I wish we talk about this. Was there anything that popped into mind?
I mean, I think you hit them all. We really hit everything.
That's awesome. And of course, we're going to talk about these things before I let you go.
Yes.
All your social media, and if anybody's interested of getting some of these, if you have an event coming up probably in the next month or so, let me know what you have. Where can people reach you out to get all these delicious snacks, picositos?
Absolutely. Well, you can always go online of mrpicoso.com. Social media is Mr. Picoso. Instagram.
You got to spell it out, Mister.
Mister.
Not
Yes,
M.
that's the trouble that I have. Mr. Picoso. Mister.
That's the camera for you. That is yours. That's
I'm
somebody-
over here looking over here.
Ahí está, hombre.
They're going to be like, hola.
Okay. So the website, the best place to get you at. You also
Yes.
post your up-to-date events or where you're going to
I'm
be.
very
también?
active in the community. I mean, I do events every, 4 to 5 events every weekend.
4 or 5 events a weekend.
Yes.
You have this weekend you got two. I
I
know it's going to
do.
be after the podcast. It already happened. Pero
Yes.
tienes dos, una en la mañana y una en la tarde. One.
Yes, I'm always at the Clear Fork Farmers Markets because we're Fort Worth based, and then we do the Colony, the Grandscape, which is a great area, and then this year I'm trying to connect a little bit more Latino events. So I have another event on Sunday. If you like the lowrider trucks, I think it's
Yeah, lowrider.
así se dicen,
Lowrider
no sé.
cars, lowriders.
Ajá.
Lowriders
So we're
nomás.
in Alvarado, so I'm looking forward for that one.
You're going to
yes.
Alvarado. Oh, wow. What is the furthest you travel so far?
The furthest,
I know Austin, you were there. What other one?
I do Austin, Houston. I think that's it.
Have you been out of state yet?
Not yet,
Okay.
but that is something I'm working on this year.
Let 'em know.
Everything's pending.
If you're looking for Picosos and you're anywhere in the
Yes.
United States, let him know. He'll be happy to connect and see what we can be worked out.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Once again, Mr. Picoso, make sure you spell it out all the way.
Yes.
If you see the little yellow bear, rojito, amarillo,
Exactly.
you reach the right place.
El osito.
Okay.
El osito amarillo.
Saludos, any saludos, shout outs that you have to anybody?
Igualmente, no, I'm to my friend Alyssa with Teatro Cafe. I know she was here with you.
Yes.
She's a very close friend of ours. And just all the other small businesses, they've always been, very supportive since day one. And of course, my family. And then my husband Armando, I couldn't be where I'm at now without them. So
That's awesome. What is an important lesson that you learned doing Mr. Picoso that you would tell your younger self that will help somebody else out? What would that be?
what would it be? Ooh, I don't know. I felt like I've gone through everything.
Anything that sticked out as lessons that you're like, oh, I wish I would have known that sooner. Nothing comes to mind.
Not really. I mean, just go for it. Just be less afraid. Because even though with the length of time that I've had this business, I think I could have been a little bit further. Si no tuviera el miedo, to go for it.
Where'd you get the courage to keep going forward?
No más. Just, after COVID, just what really helped me out, it was a reset in everybody, it just really made you think your worth.
Right.
Your worth. Because, I lost the job that I did for 20 years because of COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's where you realize, like, you're just a number.
A number.
So that's what really set me. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be my own number.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Y esa ha sido la motivación desde entonces.
I love it. This one's a little deeper, but I like it. Normally, during the week, during the morning time, I say something along the lines. I ran into this gentleman, and I really like it. And it's like, I'm not immortal. I am mortal, and I will die one day. And that's not to terrify me, to scare me, or frighten me, or anything like that. It's just a reality in life, right? We all have very limited time. But with that, it helps me do things, get me busy, continue to accomplish things, just to have things done and not to be afraid to try things out. With that, I wish you a long, long, prosperous life. However, once everything's said and done, what do you want people to think and feel about your life? What would that be?
Oh, Lord. That is deep.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with that.
Do you care if anybody thinks anything about you when you're said and done? Do you want to feel like when you're past the dream, the vision that you had regarding Mr. Picoso is going to be worldwide, and you might not even see that already, but you know that after you're done, it's still going to be a thing, and people are going to remember because it was you?
Wow. It really makes you think, right?
That
really question
does.
really makes you think.
It really does.
I don't know.
So good. I mean, you're the first one that had an answer, but it is a very...
It's pretty deep,
No, it is deep because a lot of the times...
I mean, I don't want to, like I said from the beginning, you don't want to be raw, but it's
Yeah.
like, and not just say something, but,
No,
I still feel like, that's something that's still developing.
Okay. And again,
But
we don't have to have an answer. It's something
to
that...
be continued.
Part number 2.
see.
Hey, ¿sabes qué? We're
En un
gonna...
año.
So we're going to have we're going to do a version of the podcast that's going to be more relaxed. And the only one way to qualify for that one is if you are part or one of my guests previously before. So te lo voy a dejar de tarea. You don't have to answer right now because I know it's pressure to think, especially something so big. But cuando regreses, when you get the invite back, I would want you to be able to at least see if you're closer to that.
How do I want to be remembered by? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Picoso and the logo itself is a beautiful thing.
Exactly. I mean,
the empowerment that you...
made of its own...
Yeah.
Its own legacy.
For me, like, just seeing you from the outside looking in, as far as the things that you mentioned before, as being even without wanting to, other businesses, other entrepreneurs already look for you for leadership. And then the fact that you don't stop encouraging people. Some of the things that I'm here for is encourage and empower people that was given to me many years ago. It's like you already kind of do that without wanting to. So I sometimes don't realize the things that I say to people that takes them on to life without even wanting to, right? Because they need a little something to keep them going, right? And without noticing you sometimes talking to them, they might have want to quit that day or that week, but then because of a small talk that you had, all of a sudden now they just keep it going. And sometimes it's just those little words, those little small conversations that you have with somebody that keeps them pushing forward, And I think those things are very important.
I agree.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here.
No, absolutely. Thank you for popping my cherry.
When we first...
my first podcast.
Oh, my bad.
Sí,
Estoy tirando las cosas.
¿Verdad?
Keep that.
Nervous.
Don't delete that.
Se puso nervioso.
Me puse nervioso. So when I first ran into you, and just like I do with a lot of the entrepreneurs, I just talk small talk, and then I start learning about you and
Yes.
how things started, and you just seeing the branding part, everything, how fun it is, and the presentation and everything, which is very important. I'm like, that's pretty neat. And then we talked La Gran Plaza. It was when we first kind of connected.
That was
I'm
such
like,
a great event. Yes.
I must have the gentleman. I must have him to talk a little bit about what he's done. 3 years young, but still learning, and
Always.
having the
It
mindset to
never
be able
stops.
to absolutely, and having the mindset to be able to want to expand even further and take our culture. To me, the global Latin factor is the imprint of our culture throughout the entire world, right?
Yes.
And nothing embodies more of somebody that wants to showcase our stuff to the world. And I feel that without a doubt, you're definitely at a global Latin factor, Eddie. Thank you so much for being here.
No,
I appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
This was another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Remember to subscribe to the channel right now if you want to be part of the community of the Global Latin Factor community. This is your opportunity right now. Subscribe today. And remember, we are people. We are human. We are just like you. We are the spice in this melting pot that it is the world. Till next time. Buzz.